As we pick up with today's class, we are continuing with the study of Paul's third missionary journey. And you'll recall from previous classes, on this third journey, while he visited a lot of towns and a lot of cities and did many things, his focus was primarily on three cities: Ephesus, Corinth, and Rome. And those are the three cities we're talking about. So in the previous session, we talked a little bit about his ministry in Ephesus. Today we'll pick it up by talking about Corinth. It's helpful to know that Corinth was the capital city of the province that it was in. It was a province called Achaia. And Corinth was the capital city. It was a very wealthy city. It had a diverse economic base. It had lots of different industries, from shipbuilding to brass making to all kinds of different things. And so there was a lot of wealth in the city. There was also a lot of corruption in Corinth. In fact, Corinth was famous for its corruption and for its immorality. And it was that setting that Paul was trying to minister in as he was planting churches, as he was discipling. The city itself was so corrupt that it was known for that. Now, you'll remember probably from previous classes that Paul had been in Corinth before. He had spent actually about 18 months as he got a church going, as he discipled people. It was in Corinth on this previous visit where he met Priscilla and Aquila. He met Erastus, who was the city treasurer who accepted Christ. And that was where Paul was presented to the Roman proconsul, the Roman judge by the name of Gaius. Gaius threw the case out of court, you'll remember, and the Jews who had accused Paul of teaching false things, teaching against Rome, were so angry that their case was thrown out of court that they turned around and beat their own leader. It was never clear why they did that. Probably they were just angry and needed to express their anger somewhere. But that leader was a man named Sosthenes. And as we get into the study of Paul's writings to Corinth, we discover that Sosthenes has now accepted Christ and is working with Paul. In 1 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 9, he mentions his previous letter. So here's what we think happened. As Paul was working in Ephesus, he wrote a letter. This is one of the primary ways he serves churches. He wrote a letter to the church in Corinth, probably to encourage them, to disciple them, to keep them moving forward in their faith. And it appears that at least one of the topics he discussed was sexual immorality. Now, we don't have a copy of the letter. It's not in the Bible. It's not anywhere else in history that we've been able to find. But Paul, in 1 Corinthians, talks about his previous letter. So we know that 1 Corinthians was not the first letter he wrote. He wrote a previous letter. And in that letter, we discover, he addresses the issue of sexual immorality. As events progress, we'll discover that was one of the major topics of concern for the Corinthians, and Paul will deal with that in additional letters.